Well, hello there. Welcome back to another episode of DCU Daily, as well as Also Curious, or I should say the other way around, Also Curious times DCU Daily. We're here to talk about all of the stuff, including It Ends With Us. There's a bit of controversy around that movie. What's going on with Blake Lively, Justin Baldoni, co-stars, and of course, Justin Baldoni, brand new director. And we're definitely going to discuss what went wrong with Borderlands. The movie's sitting at 9% on Rotten Tomatoes. I don't know that the last time I've seen a movie at that scale get that low of a score, but we're going to talk about why that happened. Paramount just announced that they're going to be laying off as much as 15% of their workforce, why that is the case and why that matters, and of course, what that might include. We're going to talk about that. We had a huge D23 event over the weekend, so we have to dive into that. So many announcements. Frozen 3, Incredibles 3, there's lots more to discuss there. And of course, as always, we have some DC news. We're going to continue to speculate about why maybe Kumail Nanjiani might have a role in the new DCU, and we have a reason, to believe that. So we're going to showcase some look at some pictures from the Olympics that just wrapped up in Paris, where he was hanging out with a bunch of the other crew from the current DCU, including the producer Peter Safran. And beyond that, we're going to look ahead to Alien Romulus, which is going to be coming out literally days from now. So we'll be reviewing that on the next show, but we're going to look ahead to it and just talk about why this might just be the revival of a huge sci-fi franchise. So to do that and so much more, let's get the show started. All right, welcome on in, everybody. How are we doing today, Angelina? How is your day going?
Well, we're making it. We're doing it. We're doing all the things, guys. We had another heat wave. We've had 2 earthquakes in the last week. I was in CBS when that one hit yesterday. That was fun. I looked at my friend and I was like, if I die in CBS, I will be pissed. So.
Cool. I did hear that there was a couple of earthquakes on the West Coast. I hope everybody is okay out there, including yourself, of course. John, did you have any recent emergencies at a CVS?
No. In fact, I bought a shit ton of candy at a CVS yesterday or 2 days ago. So
it's those coupons.
No coupons. I was just feeling like a fat guy, and I really wanted candy, so that's what I did.
It'd be like
although I will say I did experience my first earthquake a couple months ago, so that was fun. Not really, but I have finally experienced it. But no, not at CVS. I was in my bed at home, and it was like, I was like, "What was that?" They're like, "I think it was an earthquake." I'm like,
"Yeah,
huh, interesting." But no, I just got candy. I wanted some candy. I have way more in my drawer.
Can you pass those along? I really need some M&Ms.
I was like, I'm drinking coffee.
I've got ginger ale, Seagram.
This episode of Also Curious is brought to you by M&Ms.
Well, I also don't think a lot of the people that watch the show know that we're not we're on opposite sides of the country. So they're both in Connecticut and I'm in LA. Are you in Connecticut right now?
Just dox me, Angelina. All right. Yeah. Thanks.
What?
I'm not in Connecticut right now, but I'm on.
Yeah, they're both on the East Coast, and I'm in LA, so it's always the funniest.
I'm repping Jersey right now.
The time change is really evident in what we're eating at the moment. Earthquakes are funny, good times, but we've got a lot of news to talk about. We've got some exciting news to talk about. So
let's do it. So let's hit that news intro and let's get the ball rolling.
It doesn't seem to matter what I do.
All right, mister, I need to paint my abs on to get nominated. You don't see Robert Downey doing that.
You're kidding. You're kidding. I can't open the envelope without this.
Warner Brothers is heading back into the Matrix with a new movie in the works.
Wonder what other surprises are in store.
I want to be Bruce Wayne.
I like that. You're gonna love me.
There's the shot right there. That.
Okay, we don't need to see
right there.
You look ridiculous.
Well, not no more, he don't.
What, dude? I can barely understand you. Your accent's insane.
What?
Give me a hand up.
Nope, I'm actually okay. Thank you very much. Oh, wow. Wow.
Yeah. All right. There we go. We updated the intro. We kind of.
I like it. It's good.
Yeah, we still have more, irrelevant Ken memes now, but still enough of those irrelevant Ken memes. But we have Ryan Reynolds now, so now it's relevant.
Hey, my guy got snubbed for an Oscar, man. I'm just saying. But hey, we're here to talk about the news, and the news in Hollywood to be specific. And Angela, you mentioned there's a lot of exciting news to get into, so let's just dive into it. First up, we've got this news that James Wan, James Wan is diving into the franchise that is Creature from the Black Lagoon. It's an old Universal Monsters property. Of course, James Wan in recent years has merged his Atomic Monster production company with Blumhouse, and the two of with him and Jason Blumhouse, they have got a deal over at Universal. So Universal owns this franchise, and now it looks like they're looking to revive it from the dead, as it were. So, John, what are your thoughts? Because I think you are probably the biggest horror fan in the group here, so I wanted to go to you
couldn't
first.
tell by my giant Evil Dead poster in the background. But yeah, I am excited for this because I think because he's combining the two most the things he's known for and the thing he most recently did. He just did Aquaman, so he's like, okay, what if I combine the movies I've been making for years, like horror movies, and then combined with all the water technology stuff that I've been doing for the past couple of years at DC, boom, combine them, Creature from the Black Lagoon. I feel like that's like a match made in heaven. Guillermo del Toro proved that you can kind of make it work in a more original setting, like with Shape of Water, that won an Oscar, that won Best Picture, deservedly so. That was an exceptional movie. And I feel like this has been trying to get made since the 90s. I think John Carpenter was attached at one point. I know they were trying to get one done. They were trying to get one in the mid 2010s. That never happened. They tried to get another one in 2020 with Scarlett Johansson and Chris Evans starring. There was a whole bunch of them.
Well, because the original came out in 1954, I was reading, and it doesn't look like there's been an iteration of it since.
Outside of sequels, no. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of crazy because I feel like so much of these IPs have been done
remade,
and redone,
but
and redone.
Yeah, it's weird because it's you think because the Gill-Man is such a great movie monster because we've gotten Frankenstein, Dracula, the Invisible Man, the Mummy, werewolf, the Wolfman, werewolves, all that. We've gotten so many, but
do
the
you
Gill-Man
think
never really
had to do with water technology, in order to really make it real and really grounded? They had to wait for something like Aquaman to come along. He's coming off of Aquaman, isn't he? I think he just needs the technology can only go so far so quickly. So I think it honestly might just be that people were waiting for that technology to come further along so that it wasn't so fake.
I mean, the thing is, the fact that I will say the underwater scenes in the 50s movies still look really good to this day. I will say
one was actually drowning for sure.
Creature from the Black Lagoon it's not one of my favorite Universal monster movies. I will say I was rather unimpressed with it. I thought it was fine. It was okay. But in terms of compared to the Wolfman and the Invisible Man, Bride of Frankenstein, Son of Frankenstein, I feel that Universal did a lot of better stuff in the 30s and 40s. I will say this was not one of my personal favorites. I know a lot of people love it, and I know a lot of the horror
community. It's a cult classic for sure. I've heard people talk about it for years. I've never seen the original. I've never seen any of the sequels. I feel like I've seen clippets and snippets of it. I know that it was enough of a cult classic that through the years, the cartoons would even sort of reference it. Other TV shows and stuff that I watched growing up would reference it. And I knew that he existed. I didn't remember there being a Kim Possible episode that was based off of the Creature of Black Lagoon. So I don't know. I'm excited to see what he's going to do with it. I do feel like coming off of Aquaman, he would be the best choice. He's really dedicated to like.
Yeah, I mean, Guillermo del Toro is also working on a Frankenstein movie, which I'm really excited about. So,
yeah, that's gonna be awesome.
And then there's also a Wolfman movie with Christopher Abbott, directed by James Wan's buddy Lee Wannell, who also did an Invisible Man movie, which was really good a couple years ago. Came out right before like the pandemic started. So, so yeah, all these older IPs are finally getting like, because I know Universal tried to do the Dark Universe, didn't pan out. So I'm glad that like I know like a cinematic universe. I would love to see it with like the horror monsters. I know Universal opened up a section of Universal Studios for like the Dark Universe, where it's like a bunch of like older monsters and stuff like that. So I would say people are into it, but like I would say just for now focus on like standalone stuff, because that's clearly what's working, like the Invisible Man and stuff like that. So I don't know. I'm excited for it. I think James Wan is a very good filmmaker. I know he kind of gets some flack from certain like horror fans, mainly ones who are a little bit more like prestigious and kind of pretentious. They're like, "Oh, I don't watch like The Conjuring. That's just mainstream popcorn garbage." But it's like, I think what he does, like for what his wheelhouse is really good. I understand he's not like Robert Eggers or something like that, but I think what James Wan sets out to do, he's a good filmmaker, and what he produces is great. And I enjoy, like, I really like the Conjuring movies. I enjoyed Dead Silence. You know, like the first Aquaman movie was really good.
Yeah.
And so I'm stoked for this. Like I
also think nowadays like you need a director that can marry the two, right? Like sort of pay homage to classic horror, but also bring it into the new world, right? Like the way we watch entertainment, the way we watch TV is different. Like the stupid jump scares that you see in 50s, 60s, 70s movies, like just don't hit the same. Like we need somebody that can bring it into the future. So I'm excited about this one. What I was not excited about was Borderlands and how poorly that went over at the box office.
Yeah, that was I had no faith in that from the beginning.
Did you play the video game?
Yeah, it's based on a video game. All the people I know that played the video game are like, this cast is entirely miscast. Like literally every person is miscast. It looks like so unfunny. It's also PG-13 based on a video game that's mature. And and you know, it's just Avi Arad once again being a complete and utter moron.
So the original game, I think, came out in 2009, and then within a year they released like an X-rated version of the game, and that's kind of what they've run with since 2010. Yeah. And I've never played it, but I do have a lot of friends that do play it, and like the whole of this like game is just gory. Like they just, even the graphics, like when you see the poster, it's this dude with like a gun, like a finger gun to his head, and then you see all of this, like that's literally the poster for this video game. And then they cast like a 12-year-old and a bunch of like family friendly actors in this, which is weird. Like,
and it's like they're all like so much older. Like if you look at the character models versus the like Cate Blanchett looks like 50 years older compared to like the character in the game. Jamie Lee Curtis is way too old. Kevin Hart is like half the size of his character, and the whole point of his character, he's like supposed to be this like stoic straight man who is the complete opposite of Kevin Hart. Because don't get me wrong, I think Kevin Hart can be funny. Like I don't love him, I don't love his stand-up, but like
to be so honest,
I like the Jumanji movies and stuff like that. Like he's funny there.
I just whenever I see Kevin Hart, I immediately don't take a movie seriously. Yeah, I immediately am like, I'll catch that one on TV. Sorry. Yeah. I don't, there's something about him that I don't like. Like, it's just, fair. He's, to me, like, he is what Ryan Reynolds to me is becoming. Like, it's just played out. Like, he's always played the same character. Sometimes he's funny for sure, but most times he's not. Like, I'm just like, yeah, do your thing, Kevin Hart. Go
I guess so, yeah.
Like, I
but
don't
it's just
love
like, yeah, it's entirely miscast. It doesn't look funny. I was literally joking with a friend of mine because, like, I know, James Gunn being in the news so much. I mean, we're talking about DCU constantly, so you have all that. But I was literally watching the trailer for this movie, by the way, in front of Inside Out 2, by the way. And I was literally watching this trailer, and I was like, you know what? I understand James Gunn haters now, because I imagine this is what James Gunn haters see when they see a James Gunn movie, because this looks like a bad James Gunn movie. And from what I've heard, that's exactly what it looks like. Guardians of the Galaxy. They're trying way too hard to be Guardians of the Galaxy and then failing miserably. So it just looks painfully unfunny.
Yeah.
Like a couple buddies of mine went to go see it because they were curious. I'm like, why are you wasting money on this?
Yeah, but like for people that are fans of the game, like
they're not fans of the game. They've never played it. So I was like, why are you seeing this?
Interesting.
And I was like, they're like, we're curious. And I'm like, all right. They're like, and both of them came out of the movie and they were like 1 out of 10 top 3 worst movies of the year, easily.
If not worst 3 movies.
And I'm like,
it's gonna be one of those movies that just gets entirely forgotten. And it's just so sad because it's like, especially coming off of what was the show that just came out that was based off of a video game? Fallout.
Yeah, Fallout.
Coming off of Fallout, which
coming off of so many
mixed reviews. Most people really liked Fallout.
Yeah.
Like most people loved Fallout. Some people were like a little iffy, I guess, with the ending.
I mean,
but for the majority,
part of it, so.
Like Fallout was like an 8 out of 10 at least. You know what I mean? Like it's good, solid. And so I think we're getting to the point where we've played out so many book adaptations that now we're like turning to more and more video game adaptations. And when you let fans down like this, it's just like,
considering we're going to be talking about It Ends With Us, which is a book adaptation, a video game adaptation and a book adaptation. The movies we were supposed to review and ended up not. But yeah, because it's like, I wouldn't say we're in like a golden age of video game adaptation. There's a lot of crappy ones still come out, like Mortal Kombat and Uncharted. So don't get me wrong. But we've also gotten the 2 Sonic movies. We got Super Mario Brothers.
Hey, there's another Mortal
Kombat
Kombat.
We have Last of Us. We have like so many of these game adaptations. It's like, okay, we've proven that video game adaptations can work. Why are we still getting something this bad? Like this is like late 90s, early 2000s video game adaptation, like Double Dragon or Tekken or shit like that. It's like, guys, what are you doing?
Literally,
Avi Arad. That's the answer. He can't produce anything.
Wow.
I mean, it's just when you look at the reviews, right? Like what I also heard about this is, like you mentioned, John. I think Eli Roth wasn't there for the reshoots. The director himself was, which isn't entirely uncommon on some movies. That does happen, but it's in a situation like this where they had already got it seemed like too many cooks in the kitchen on the scripting side, and the film really didn't come together. The casting wasn't perfect to begin with. I think there was so much that was not.
The 9% on the tomato meter is just so wild to me. Just even looking at it, I'm like,
somebody was. Wow. I was discussing this the other day. I don't know if it was yesterday or last week, but it was like, somebody was talking about how they were talking with someone like the smaller crew member, and they were like, yeah, we filmed this movie like over 3 years ago, and they're finally releasing it now. And it's like,
they're they're finally done with it. It's been in the can for 3 years. I was like, oh my god.
Which also should just tell you that like it wasn't a priority. Like it wasn't perfect. It wasn't hitting the way they were hoping it would hit. I'm sure they probably did like feedback screenings, which they are doing more and more lately. Like it probably just wasn't hitting and they didn't know what to do with it. So they're just like, fuck it. I guess we just got to release it and hope for the best.
I think the studio probably, considering that they held on to it for as long, they probably did put some effort into trying to make it work. But ultimately, when it came down to it, you look at the marketing promotion campaign for this movie, did not have much of a presence. Where was the trailers? Where was all the ads? Where were like all the
I saw like
they were like
the trailer like 3 times during
so it's
it's like preview run Like, I saw A Quiet Place day one literally every fucking time I went to the movies for the past year. Yet I saw this maybe like 3-4 times, not even. It's like, where was they really had absolutely no faith in this movie whatsoever.
Yeah. Well, you know, at the end of the day, the movie's out there. It looks like the studio's cutting its losses, and we'll see how it all turns out. And you know, let us know in the comments if you did go see the movie, what you thought about it, or did you just look at the Rotten Tomato score and how other people talking about it, and then just said no, thank you, because that's how most of us reacted to it. By the way, Lenny was commenting earlier about how are they going to make the Blob for the 1 millionth time. I mean, it's Creature from the Black Lagoon, James Wan and Blumhouse, their collaboration is entirely focused on getting Universal's monster franchises off the ground. So we'll see. I mean, as far as original stories, I mean, you can tell an original story. By the way, Lenny, even if you have an IP, you can tell an original story with it. It's not going to be as original as something you just wrote for yourself. But I think James Wan is a director who sort of focuses more on bringing IP to life. That seems to be his wheelhouse. But with that said, there is other news. It feels like we're getting into a lot of negative news, but trust me, it will get better because we will talk about D23 in a little bit. But right now, we need to talk about something that's a little more of a downer. Paramount recently they finally locked in their acquisition, their merger, if you will, with Skydance, the company that was essentially has been financing their film slate, all those Tom Cruise movies, Mission Impossible, speaking of the Olympics, Tom Cruise bringing the Olympics to LA for 2028. All the movies that he has done, like Top Gun Maverick, the sequel to Top Gun Maverick. That company, Skydance, has now merged or is in the process of merging with Paramount. But Paramount still has been bleeding money. They need to find ways to get rid of that debt. How do they do that? And usually the answer becomes, at least somewhere in the equation, is laying people off. And now, something that people have in the industry have speculated for a long time, it looks like that is going to come to pass. We are going to be getting up to, it looks like 15% of Paramount's U.S. staff potentially being laid off.
I heard an estimation that they needed to cut out like $500 million in expenses. Yeah. And, I think Paramount did a good job of not really relaying like how much in danger they were, because $500 million in expenses just to stay afloat until the buyout, until the merger is
pretty much,
it's a lot of money.
Yeah.
It's a big number. It's a big number. And they also have a good amount of debt. Yeah, it's a big number.
The trailer of Borderlands is embarrassing. I'm so sorry, Lenny.
But yeah, I mean, look, it's at the end of the day, John, like, what are your thoughts on this idea? Because this is where we were looking at a situation just a couple of months ago that Paramount might have been bought by somebody like a Sony and Apollo managed, buying out all the assets and all the library and IP of Paramount and then slicing and dicing the rest. We now have a situation where Paramount is sticking together as the company that it has been with Skydance, injecting billions of dollars. And then now they have to, obviously streamline their business strategy because they are losing money.
Well,
But do you feel like this is a better, it's end result than having the company split into a million different parts?
It's the lesser of two evils, essentially. Right. I think, no matter what, whenever it's a merge, wherever it's bought out, people are going to be losing their jobs. And that's very unfortunate, especially in when Hollywood is kind of on fire right now. So it's just, it's sad to see. It's always sad to see. You don't want to see people lose their jobs. That's terrible. Especially if it's I can imagine that those 15% is probably older veterans, then they gotta
But it's not just that. But here's the thing: at the end of the day.
But even then, I'm just saying it's sad, but it was gonna happen inevitably when it came to mergers and being bought out. But as you said, I'm glad Paramount as an institution is still being it's still there, because it's one of the oldest studios that are still around. And it's better than Sony just chopping it up. So I'm happy about that. But we all knew it was gonna happen. People were gonna lose their jobs. But
And the one thing that 15% is a number. 15% of the staff being laid off, but that 15% represents livelihoods, literally real people with jobs that they will lose as a result of these layoffs. And you never want to downplay that because that is going to affect people's like livelihoods, literally. And to that end, it's never a good thing to see that happen. And my hope is that to anybody who is working at Paramount, who's looking out for some, maybe an email or some kind of phone call or a meeting where they get told that their job is no longer going to be around in a couple of months' time, that hopefully they can land on their feet. But in the meantime, Paramount's doing what they need to do, it seems like, to lean out and be able to move forward and be profitable again, because they haven't been that for quite some time. Now, as we mentioned earlier, we are going to end the news segment with something a little more lighthearted, and that, of course,
Let
is
it go.
D23.
Let it go.
It's
those jobs are being let go, unfortunately. Sorry.
But John and Angelina, what are your thoughts? Okay, so there was a huge D23 event over the weekend, the Disney conference of conferences, and they announced a ton of things. Now, of course, there was the Incredibles 3. They had a new trailer for Skeleton Crew, for Star Wars. They announced a Monster Jam movie, that's live action Monster Jam movie starring Dwayne The Rock Johnson. We also got release dates for Frozen 3, which Frozen 2 and Frozen 1 are two of the biggest movies of all time, not just animated movies, biggest movies of all time, period. And then Pixar's Hoppers, an original film, is getting a release date in spring 2026. Pixar currently holds the title for the biggest movie of the year with Inside Out 2, which also happens to be the second biggest animated movie of all time, right behind the CGI Lion King. So Disney's been killing it recently. Pixar seems like it's finally back to its heyday, or at least seems like it is. So what are your thoughts on both Frozen 3 and Hoppers, two movies that potentially will make $1 billion, if not more? Certainly, if you look at the Thanksgiving release date for Frozen 3. Which of these two are you more excited about, Angelina? Are you looking forward to these? Are you even surprised that Frozen 3 is on the calendar now, or was this just a given and it's just a matter of time before they
I never watched Frozen 2. My dog has a few times, actually. I turn it on for him when I leave the house for long periods of time. I turn on the TV, and he's watched Frozen 2 twice. He's watched Encanto about 6 times.
Your poor dog.
He loves it. He's a big fan. He sits down, he vibes, but I've never seen any of these movies all the way through. I've never watched Frozen 2 at all, but he likes it, I think. I don't know. I guess I do leave. Sure.
My dog usually gets sports. My dad leaves on sports for the dog whenever.
For the dog?
Yeah. She loves it. Meanwhile, she's just on the couch.
Mo loves cartoons. He's really into
I remember one time my dog was intently, we were going through the channels and we stopped, my mom had to do something in the kitchen or something, and she stopped on Sesame Street on HBO, and my dog was intently watching the TV screen. And she was straight up just watching intently. But yeah, Frozen 3, don't care. Hoppers, don't care.
Ratatouille was his first introduction to the cartoon realm, and he was just a big fan.
Very nice.
So Frozen 3, it doesn't surprise me because Frozen 1 and 2 was crazy. I actually used to play Elsa for princess parties in Oklahoma. The way kids were crazy for that movie was wild. I even remember we did I went to Performing Arts High School, and we had a really incredible choir, but as a vocal major, I was required to be in choir. And we actually used to go perform for the Vox Nova choir every year at Disney. And I remember one year we did this beautiful, insane orchestral for Frozen. So Frozen definitely tapped into multiple markets. They did a really good job introducing the newest Disney princess, I think, but I never saw the second one. I guess I have to watch the second one to watch the third one. It also seems a little crazy that they need 3 years to make a movie like that. That to me is a little crazy, but I guess it makes sense. They do a good job. When Disney goes back to their bread and butter and does a pretty good job most of the time. So.
Yeah, I mean, and look, this is not the only big, sequel that they announced at D23, right? I talked about a bunch of Tron Ares, for example, got a big presentation. We got a lot more details about that, and And it looks like, we're going to be seeing some characters hop across from the digital world into the real world, which kind of like starts
they
to blend
did
into
already
like
with
a little
Tron
bit Blade
Legacy.
Runner.
Like, I've been hyping Tron 3 for fucking years, and Joseph Kosinski was trying to make this damn movie happen for years. He finally makes the biggest movie of like the decade with Top Gun Maverick, and then Disney's like, no, let's not have that guy make Tron 3. No, fuck that. Let's bring in Jared Leto, the cult leader, douchebag who treats his cast members like shit. Yeah, let's bring in that guy. Let's bring in Morbin time for this guy. Nine Inch Nails, why are you agreeing to this shit? Come on. This is bullshit. This is bullshit. I want to see my boy Garrett Hedlund come back. I want to see Olivia Wilde come back. Fuck this shit. This is bullshit.
I don't know if Olivia Wilde is interested in this franchise at this point, but by the way, they did also announce that Avatar 3 is now going to be Fire and Ash. It's going to be called Avatar Fire and Ash, coming out on December 19th, 2025. So, John, do you think we are just like one step away from like,
we're getting
Avatar,
an earthbending movie
the
next.
Last Airbender?
We're getting an earthbending movie. It's going to be Dust and Earth is like going to be the next one.
Yeah.
Or like The Way of the Earth or some shit like that. It's literally, he's just ripping off Last Airbender at this point. It's just, the first one was wind. The second one was water. The third one is fire. The next one's going to be earth. I don't know what the fifth one is going to be. It's going to be all four or plasma.
Yeah, it's going to be space.
It's going to be like Captain Planet. Heart. Heart is going to be the fifth one. It's going to just
they're actually just going to come to America. It's going to come straight to the US in the very last one.
Avatar coming to America. That sounds fun.
Avatar in America.
Avatar
the way it's a human.
That's just like, that's when the Na'vi, the blue people, come and destroy humans once and for all on Earth, so that they stop going after their stuff.
I see it.
Yeah,
I see it.
I want to be excited for Avatar. It's just like The Way of Water was so mid. Like, don't get me wrong, technological achievement, mid as fuck though. So I have no. It's just like,
I mean, we reviewed it on the show. John, were you with us?
I am.
No. Were you with us when we reviewed?
No, I don't think. I
don't think you were like fully on the show yet. So I mean, we reviewed the movie, and I think it was kind of like, oh shit, like the music was incredible, the everything,
technological,
incredible,
amazing.
Yeah, truly stunning. But the storyline was just like a little like regurgitation. Like it felt like the first movie.
It felt like the first movie again, and it made like no sense.
Was like okay.
Like Jake Sully was like in the first movie, he was like, okay, he was kind of like the everyman kind of character. He was kind of relatable. In the second movie, he's just a dick. Like he just like treats his kid, who's like not his favorite, like a complete.
He's a protective father. I kind of could relate to what he was. But anyway, sorry, I digress.
But even then, like I don't know. I don't want us to talk about Avatar too much. I don't want to talk about Pixar too much. Let's move on.
Things are coming out, guys. We have lots of things scheduled, lots of fun things to look forward to. Frozen 3, Hoppers, all the things. There's a lot coming out. D23 also honored Miley Cyrus, which feels kind of hilarious. I feel like
that was
only did that.
To say the least.
Yeah, they only did that because she finally won a Grammy or something. Like it was weird. Whole thing was strange.
But anyway, hey, like and subscribe as always if you enjoyed the news. The show isn't far from over because we've got so much more to go. It Ends With Us is what we're going to be talking about next. It's a movie that has been stirring up controversy, and it's something that we want to get into. We also want to review it a little bit and talk about if it was actually good or not. So let's do that right now. But before we do that, let's take a look at this.
You have a really nice view.
I do.
Haley Bloom.
Atlas.
These women who experience this every single day, there's real love there. There's charm, there's charisma, there's passion, there's this belief that they can be better. And it's not so simple. The question that's always asked is, why did she stay? And that's the wrong question. What we need to be asking ourselves is, why do men harm?
Yeah, this is a movie that's It Ends With Us. It Ends With Us is based on a book that is super popular, and while it's not for a target audience of for myself necessarily, I can completely get on board with the idea that this is, a book that should have been adapted about as close to, the page as possible for all the fans of the book out there, because they're really making this movie for the fans of the book. That's where the audience is meant to come from. But it seems like now that the movie's out there, the conversation has moved away from the story of the film more towards what's going on behind the scenes with Blake Lively, her co-star Justin Baldoni, who also happens to be directing the movie, and even like Ryan Reynolds getting involved in how they're promoting the film. And so we wanted to kind of dive into that and you really start talking about what is happening. I wanted to get a sense of like what are your guys' thoughts of the movie itself, and then B, let's kind of start getting into what has been happening. What's the controversy? Let's try to like explain it a little bit for the folks who are watching. So, Angelina, first I wanted to ask you, what is your impression of this movie, and then also just what is the reason why everybody's just either saying Justin Baldoni is a terrible person, or Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds completely took over this movie for their own self-aggrandizing purposes. What is going on here? What it ends with?
So, let the lowdown essentially on the drama. Like it's seeming, well, let's talk about the movie a little bit first. So the movie so far, it's doing really well in the box office comparatively for what the movie cost to make. I mean, the fans of Colleen Hoover's It Ends With Us are thrilled. 94% audience score. I mean, basically all of the reviews. And unfortunately, I didn't have time to go see the movie this week. I do still plan on seeing it. I do love Colleen Hoover's novels. She always sort of she really goes in for the female audience. You gotta love it. And people are saying that Blake Lively like really sort of brought out the best in the character, in Lily's character, like really, the casting, people thought the casting was great. People loved that it was so true to the movie, or so true to the book. And that's probably one of my biggest issues is like when I really, really love a book and I see them just like over-aggrandize it or change things for whatever reason, like it really takes away from the story for me. Like Lessons in Chemistry, I love that book. That book was phenomenal. Do I think they did a good job with the casting of Brie Larson? No. And then everything just from there went downhill. Blake Lively always sort of has this really, I think people relate to her in a way that I don't think you see of a lot of women in film and TV. Like even when she was on the CW series, like Gossip Girl, people just really loved and sort of were drawn to Blake Lively. And I think her marriage with Ryan Reynolds and how they choose to like show up in front of press and how they choose to always show up on Instagram, etc. She's just like one of the it girls of Hollywood. Like she's one of Taylor Swift's best friends. Like she goes out and she parties and she gets drunk and like she has fun, and she has this beautiful marriage with Ryan Reynolds and they're very supportive of each other. And, just overall, I think in the last 10 years, she's really sort of positioned herself off screen as just being such a relatable character that bringing her into this movie was the best decision I think this movie could have made. Like, I don't know anybody else that would have really done as well. However, audiences love it. Critics, not so much. Critics just feel like it was just too... It wasn't relatable at all. Like people just felt like it was Hollywood. One critic review I read was like, it felt like a Manolo tipped heel dipping its foot into the world of domestic abuse. That's me sort of paraphrasing, but critics are just like, y'all didn't tell enough of a story here. It isn't relatable at all. I don't feel for her at all. Like and that's the other thing too. A lot of the press is surrounding like, she doesn't talk about the true film matter at all. Like all of the press interviews I've seen, she's talking about her wardrobe. She's talking about her younger cast. She's talking about everything else. She launched her hair care line in order to like sort of use the movie as like press for that. So it just felt a little off. And I think that's what a lot of people were also feeling. It just felt very distasteful. So that feeds into the drama. If y'all remember the Don't Worry Darling drama, this feels like that 2.0.
Not as bad, but I get vibes from that, not gonna lie.
It definitely is giving, like, people saw it and they ran with it. I have seen stuff on TikTok, I have seen stuff on Instagram, I have seen fan theories. Even Fox News has written an article about this drama. Nobody's actually remarked on what the fuck happened, but you know me, I love the tea. So
we all love the tea.
Essentially, I was like, I love the tea. So I kind of delved a little bit deeper. Justin, so the situation, what we do know, Justin Baldoni is the director and he is the co-star with Blake Lively. He has done zero press with any of the other castmates of the movie, which is weird considering he's the director and the co-star. So all of the press that he's done for this movie entirely by himself, whereas Blake Lively has done press, all of it with all of the rest of the castmates on her own, with everyone else, like, totally fine. So people are just like, weird. But then even when they were at the premiere, they weren't seen pictured together. They didn't take photos on their, like, together at all. Again, like, very strange. It was very obvious that they were very separate, and that was clearly, like, a choice. However, when Blake Lively was asked about it, somebody directly was just like, hey, like, there's a lot of speculation about what's going on, like, blah, blah, blah. She literally ignored the interviewer. So there's a lot in what she doesn't say, right? Because it's like, if something wasn't wrong, she'd just be like, oh no, like, blah, 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 blah. You know what I mean?
Right.
But then it gets worse because Justin Baldoni, though he has praised Blake Lively in a lot of ways, Blake Lively won't talk about Justin Baldoni at all. And then originally Blake Lively was brought on as an executive producer because Justin Baldoni, as a man making a movie about domestic abuse where a man abuses a woman, is like, okay. So he brought on Blake Lively as an executive producer early on. So she had like a lot of input into the movie, how it was made, to make sure that it's good, it's grounded, it's like a real story. It doesn't feel like some man trying to tell a woman's story again, which I love and appreciate. However, there's a lot of speculation that then Ryan Reynolds got super involved and they both sort of took over the whole process. And then the final cut of the movie, there was like a lot of arguments about it. So they're even talking about possibly releasing Justin Baldoni's version.
Release the Baldoni cut.
The Baldoni cut?
People are talking about the Baldoni cut because this movie is not entirely his choice. It sounds like it absolutely was. Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds sort of like took it over. They even moved the premiere date of the movie in order to sort of coincide with Wolverine and everything. Please stop the papyrus. Inside Out. I'm so confused.
Papyrus avatar that they used. That's the papyrus. Remember the Ryan Gosling SNL thing, Papyrus? That was like the whole sketch. They released a sequel when it was, a couple years ago anyway.
I'm sorry, I got distracted by a fan comment, guys. Thanks for chiming in. I was like, wait, huh?
Yeah, no, it's just a bad avatar, and they were saying Inside Out is genius, so that's cool. But anyway, continue. Sorry.
No. And so essentially, it seems like Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively purposely sort of navigated their premieres to be within a week or two of each other, so they would be battling at the box office in order to create more press, do more press together. Blake Lively even did like a Vogue cover with Hugh Jackman. They're trying to create like a Barbenheimer effect, but it just feels very forced and a little bit manipulative, as if they like think they're such marketing geniuses that like we're not going to see what they're doing. You know what I mean? Like it just feels a little weird. Like it feels a little forced. And at the end of the day, like it's working. Right, this movie did way better than most rom-coms will do in theaters.
It did better than Borderlands.
Yeah, I don't think that would have been hard. to be.
That would have been hard, but no. But it's just like it just goes to show like you have like this big like IP based on a video game. Blah, blah, blah. I understand this was based on a book, but like video games are usually more mainstream and like they get more press and all that stuff. So it's like that's saying a lot as well. And it's just like and it just that makes my tummy rumble. That makes me be like raise an eyebrow a little bit. It's just like I know people love Ryan Reynolds and I like Blake Lively too. I like the both of them. It's just that I've just been getting so sick of Ryan Reynolds at this point. Like you were talking about this during your Deadpool and Wolverine review last week, 2 weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
How it's just like he's like a comedian that's like trying too hard. That's what it kind of feels like now. It's just like he just kind of feels like a guy who's trying too hard, trying to like have his fingers in the potato salad and just kind of, very weird metaphor, but that's like he's just kind of, like he's just, I think we've reached a point where the best way I can like describe this, the best way is I could say like he's reached the point in his career where the genuine nice guy I feel he was has kind of been replaced by the faux nice guy.
Yeah.
Kind of like what happened with Jennifer Lawrence a little bit, where like she like at first was like kind of this like relatable sort of like, oh, she's funny, she's silly. And then like as time went on, she got her Oscar, she got all these tentpole movies, she was Mystique. She just became like more and more like a faux nice person where it's like it feels like an act. It doesn't feel real. That's what I kind of feel like with Ryan Reynolds now. It just kind of doesn't feel real anymore. He just seems like fake. And then you have like the whole like it also doesn't help. I keep getting fucking Mint Mobile ads and Aviation Gin ads, which like annoy the hell out of me, not gonna lie.
Yeah.
It's like you brought poor Rick Moranis out of retirement for this crap. Like Ryan, what are you doing, man? And it just comes off as like a businessman trying to be relatable, not in a how do you do fellow kids kind of way, just like a fake chemically we're trying, like it's like the meme of like Walter White like making meth. He's like, that's what essentially this is. It just feels like a businessman like trying to create like the perfect ingredients to like be the most successful, but also trying to be the most down to earth. It just feels like fake and ridiculous to me.
Yeah, it comes across really, really fake. And I think that that's really what feeds into all of the drama is this bottom line of like, okay, yeah, I get it. You and Ryan Reynolds are the best power couple on the market. You guys are business people through and through. She has Buddy Buzz. He has Aviation Gin. Now she has her own hair care line. But like the subject matter of this movie is so sensitive that it just felt really insensitive. All of her press interviews, it's like the subject matter of this movie is really sensitive and you're talking about what you borrowed from Gigi Hadid's closet. Like, this is not Gossip Girl. This is a movie about a woman who is like growing and trying to
get out of this abusive relationship and trying to get out of this abusive past. And it's like, you're hawking your shit. And it's like, that's
it almost felt like she was trying to play her Gossip Girl character again. And maybe it's because she hasn't really done something as big since truly as Gossip Girl. But it's just like wrong place, wrong time, wrong subject matter. Like it just, it felt very forced. So people, however, as far as the movie goes, it's doing really well. So far in the box office, I think
my mom is seeing it literally right now. She literally went, she's like, 2:00, I'm going to see the movie. And I'm like, okay, good luck. Hope you like it. So hopefully she likes it.
Let's see the newest box office sales for It Ends With Us. It Ends With Us scores $50 million opening weekend, which is huge for a movie like this. Like it really is just like really, really, really like most movies of this are lucky if they hit 20 of opening weekend. Like to hit 50 is great, incredible. Got an $80 million global opening. So it's doing really well in the box office. And overall, fans love the movie. Fans love it. It's got a 94% audience score. So if you've seen it, like, let us know. I still kind of want to see it, but I think Blake Lively just kind of fucked up with the press on this movie, and
Yeah.
whereas like I do feel like
True
Baldoni has really tried to stay away from all of the extra stuff that Blake Lively has commented on, and has like really stuck to like, I made this movie because I wanted to make this movie and I wanted to talk about something really important, and as a feminist. So like I don't know if I can really hate on him.
It's a double-edged sword a bit.
Yeah.
Like you want to support the movie that's talking about these important things, but then you have Blake Lively being an egotistical bitch, and okay, maybe not bitch. Let's not call her a bitch. I don't want to call it. I apologize. Sorry. An egotistical person. So it's like it's this whole thing, and it's like I don't think it's like as bad as like supporting like a recent Kevin Spacey or Bryan Singer movie. I don't think it's that levels of bad, but it just it as many have said, it gives you the ick. Let's go with that. It gives you the ick, and that's a shame because it, like, you know, it's an important thing. A lot of people love the book and all that. So, you know, I hope when you eventually see it, I hope you enjoy it. It's just like, you know, it's a little saddening to see all this stuff surrounding this movie that's trying to say something important that unfortunately happens a lot.
Of course, and especially for like a big Colleen Hoover IP. I mean, Colleen Hoover is like really just
I've never heard
one
of
of the
her.
top.
I apologize.
No, she's a huge author. She's written oh my god, there's like so many of the books. The most So yeah, it starts with us, it ends with us. They also did, god, what are the ones that she's like super famous for though? Hold on. There's like a million. I mean, yeah, she's written like a lot. I'm literally looking at them all now. I'm like, oh god. Reminders of Him. Yeah, I mean, she's written like fucking like a lot of books. It's kind of wild. I guess It Ends With Us and It Starts With Us is her most popular in Verity, but I felt like
there was, but yeah. No, I get what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, in general, she's just like constantly on the New York Times bestsellers list. Like she's constantly doing the thing. So, you know, if you guys go see the movie, let us know. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. Come here, comment, let us know what you think about the movie. Maybe y'all can convince me to go. I do think I'm still gonna go regardless, but I never heard about this movie until this drama. Literally, Caleb. Yep, that's kind of it. Yep, that's true. Maybe it was all positioned. Maybe they did it as a PR stunt, like Sydney Sweeney and Glenn Powell's rom-com PR.
Yeah.
Are we all just puppets on a string? Who knows?
I mean, hey, look,
I got no
at the end of
strings
the
on me.
If you saw the movie and you enjoyed it, then you enjoy the movie for what it is. If you are coming to this conversation because you heard about behind the scenes drama, then, you know, let that be your avenue. But hey, give the movie a shot. I think with every movie, what I try to do is then leave expectations at the door. You know, might want to see in the movie, and I try to watch it as objectively as possible. But art, at the end of the day, is by essence, you know, fundamentally subjective. So let us know in the comments if you enjoyed the movie, if this conversation has basically put you off the idea of even wanting to watch, or if you are more interested than ever in checking it out. So, you know, drop that down below, hit the like and subscribe button as always. And if you're in the live chat, of course, stick around. We've got DCU Daily coming up for you shortly. But before we do that, we do have a movie we wanted to highlight. At Also Curious, we are all about the love of movies. So one of the movies that we love, and one of the movies that is now celebrating, I believe it's like been almost, 2.5 decades or something like that. Let me confirm this before I misspeak, but it looks like the Sixth Sense is, you know, now 25 years old. And of course, M. Night did put out a movie, Trap, I believe, that came out last week. So if you decided to go watch that, or if you are looking forward to seeing Trap, then, you know, maybe you've already seen many a times, hopefully, The Sixth Sense, a movie that is looked back as one of the best of its time, a movie that put M. Night on the map. And so we do want to look back at that, a 25th anniversary of The Sixth Sense. And on the other side of this, we are going to come back and give you some updates from the world of DC with another episode of DCU Daily. So stick around, but let's take a look back at the 25th anniversary of Bruce Willis and The Sixth Sense.
I want you to think about it really carefully. What if they're just angry and they just want to hurt somebody?
I don't think that's the way it works.
How do you know for sure?
Yeah, how does Bruce Willis know for sure? Well, you're gonna have to watch the movie to find out because that is essential to the movie watching experience. Now, of course, The Sixth Sense is a movie that is 25 years old, but we are here to talk about the movie that is coming out next year. That is Superman, the kickoff of the new DCU. Superman, of course, has finished filming and is now in post production. James Gunn is very busy working on that. So, recently, while the cast has finished and wrapped up production, they've decided to, let's hop across the pond and let's check out the Olympics that were going on until recently. I believe they wrapped up this past weekend, and so the cast of a lot of the the cast of that Superman movie, as well as producer Peter Safran, were out in Paris. And I was wondering, John, there was this one person there alongside them. I mean, Kumail Nanjiani and his wife, and they were there enjoying the Olympics. Now, of course, it could just be a coincidence that they were there, or I'm wondering, is this a situation where one doesn't fit well, the rest? Tell me that you don't look at these photos and wonder why Kumail Nanjiani is the one person here who's not publicly part of this new DCU and yet hanging out with everybody else from the cast of Superman. But before we get into that, John, how's your day been going? How's it hanging in there?
I
Long
mean,
show. How's it going?
I'm eating some chocolate, so I'm happy. But I mean, my stomach isn't happy and my body isn't happy because they're like, "Why are you doing this to me?" But outside of that, I think I just I will say it's definitely exciting to see these guys together. You see Rachel and Nicholas and Peter and David. There he is, our Superman, and it's exciting because it's like, because we were talking about this the other day of like, why is Kumail Nanjiani there? Why? And now we're like even more so because like you got the whole fucking you have the trifecta of Superman, Lois, and Lex Luthor there, the fucking co-CEO, but then you also got the guy from Eternals. Why is he here? So it's definitely, I'm not I'm not changing my view of like, oh yeah, he's definitely cast, but it's like I'm still at my 15%. I'm not raising my 15%. It's not like, oh yeah, 100% cast. No, I'll be like 15%. I'm like, it's an intriguing look in terms of who we have, but like I don't think it means a ton. Okay, maybe not 50. I would say 20%. Let's go with 20%. I'll be nice. I'll go with 20% because it's not just Peter Safran. It's the whole cast there. So it's like, all right.
But to me, that like makes it even more like suspicious, right? Because he's
no, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Like the fact that, because we were literally saying like the guy at the end there, I believe that's Rachel Brosnahan's husband. And we were talking about how he was there. I think like either David Corenswet or Jack Quaid was in the background. I don't think that was Jack. I said Jack Quaid. It might have been David Corenswet, but yeah, it's just like really interesting. So I'm like, all right, let's see how this goes. But yeah, it's again, I've said many times, like I wouldn't mind seeing him cast. I think he would be good for the role, but we'll just see. And Nathan Fillion there as well. And I think, I think that's Anthony Kerrigan in the corner there too.
Is he? Oh yeah, that's right. That's it. Those are his eyes.
I mean, he has very recognizable eyes, so he's like very sunken in eyes. So it's like, all right, let's see. I accept your premise.
By the way, Caleb, I think has a point that I think might be pretty much the closest to reality, which is that hey, he's probably not Booster Gold, but he's pretty much at this point guaranteed to be in the DCU. Why else would he be out there? He's the only one amongst that group. I mean, I'm again, maybe they're all from Hollywood, they're just hanging out. But then again, we don't want to be like, oh yeah, Hollywood is like 50 people and they show up somewhere and they want to hang out together. No, it's I feel like there's more to it than that, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's and also, by the way, Kazoo, thanks for stopping. Kazoo, did you change your name? Like, I feel like we've seen you here on the chat before, but I feel like this is the first time I've seen you as Kazoo Rat. But he's got a question. Let me put this on screen. When does Supergirl start shooting? Anyone know? I don't know. That's a good question, John. Do we? I think we were at this point just still speculating because we don't know 100%.
So it's
I think
probably
you're muted, by the way.
time to start shooting next year.
Yeah.
Early next year.
Yeah, because it's coming out in summer 2026. So I would imagine the earliest it's going to get shooting is probably, let's say, spring or summer of next year. So, but yeah, there's other news here for us to talk about beyond just Booster Gold potentially, and maybe Kumail Nanjiani playing that role. I mean, he can definitely get in the gym for it, as he showed us with the Eternals. But as far as DC news goes, John, we have been hearing all of these comments from James Gunn as I don't know when he finds the time because he's like out there directing episodes of Peacemaker. He's still doing.
Everyone has a lunch
Superman,
break,
of course. I guess. But in my lunch break when I'm only got 3 hours of sleep, I'd probably try to take a power nap or maybe just not be online, like just be with my thoughts, but I guess James Gunn is like, hey, I'm going to answer fan questions. So here he is answering another fan question. And in this particular instance, the fan was asking him about how do you continue to produce quality stories and scripts when, you're doing so many of them so often, and these are such, iconic properties. And so how do you keep pushing the quality of your writing from project to project to continue to improve? And James Gunn basically said that, it's just working hard, and just kind of reiterating on your work and seeing how your past experiences translate to what ended up on screen at the end of the day. Because what you write on paper, what you write in a screenplay software like Final Draft or something, versus what ends up on screen usually is not the same thing. It evolves over time, and to sort of go through that process, have that experience behind you, it helps you sort of prepare better for the next one. What are your thoughts on just again James Gunn's approach to this, and the idea again of this man just continues to work 18-hour days and still has time to answer fan questions out there?
Right. So I think like it just goes to show how long he's been in the industry, because like understanding what to cut during the script stage is like really impressive to me, because I've written scripts before and I look at it, I'm like, this, because it's hard to, any writer would tell you it's fucking hard as shit to cut scenes, because it's like, because the thing is, you've been not in a like an egotistical way, but like you've been writing this fucking script for so long that you're like, everything looks totally perfect, it doesn't need any it doesn't need anything changed, because it's like I've been in like tunnel vision this entire time. Like I see a complete, that's never the case. Your rough draft will always be garbage. That's what I learned in school, is if it's rough, it sucks. That is essentially, if it's a rough cut, if it's a rough draft, it fucking sucks whether you like it or not. It's terrible. So what you got to do is really like, and the thing is, James Gunn and I'm sure other great writers have an eye for this now, where, okay, I know what to cut, know what to get rid of, but it also helps that James Gunn is also the director, so you got to think of it in the mind as a writer director, and you think like,
a lot more
okay,
creative control. Yeah.
I know what I'm, cutting, because the thing is, I know what I'm going to be filming. I know what's going to be in post. I'm going to, like, he's like, as he said, he over prepares. He already said that. So he knows like how to do that. So it also helps that he's a writer director, not just a writer. So it shows like how refined he's like done his craft for so long, and like what's to do. So like, it just shows like his prowess of like being in the industry for so long and doing this type of thing for so long. Whether it's good or bad depends on the person, depends on your subjective opinion. But I think that's like kind of an interesting thing to showcase, because that's something that all writers kind of need to hear, whether we know it or not. of like, yeah, your first rough draft, that's not going to be winning any Oscars, my guy. It sucks. It sucks. So get used to it. Get someone else to. That's always a thing to do. And I'm sure he was thinking about this when he's like, I don't surround myself with yes men. Always, especially if it's a rough draft, get other people, friends, non-friends. Non-friends would also be a really good thing. Someone who isn't biased, who just sees it for what it is, to fucking look at your script, because they will see. Like, I was literally doing this like when I was getting into college. Me, my mom, and one of my sisters was like looking at my college essay, and like we were looking at this same fucking essay for like a month of me like writing this. I don't know if it was a month, but like of me writing this thing. And after a certain point, they're like, yeah, it looks good. And then my other sister was coming home from college, and she was like, let me take a look at it. And she got her red pen out, and she's like, nope, that sucks. This sucks. This doesn't make sense. That's a spelling error. And you gotta, I know I'm going like, I literally just finished writing a script. That's why I'm like kind of in script mode right now. And the fact he's like mentioning this too. So that's why I'm like kind of talking about this. But yeah, it just goes to show, end of the day, bottom of the barrel. It shows James Gunn how he like tries to refine his craft as much as possible, and what he is going to direct later. So I think that's a really cool thing. He kind of he's been doing that for so long, so it's not anything new, but it's still nice to see that he's, even with his busy days of Creature Commandos, Peacemaker, and Superman, directing, editing, animation, all this other shit, and it's like still like dropping.
Plus, he still finds time to like send us videos. Yeah, it's great. I mean, the man has stamina, and I appreciate. I mean, it's good to see.
I'm sure Jennifer Holland appreciates that too.
Yes, I'm sure she does. But yeah, I mean, James Gunn is just a fantastic filmmaker who's continuing to just leave his footprints all over Hollywood, not just DC brand, Marvel brand as well, of course. Yeah, I think as far as his writing ability goes, I mean, Kazoo, I think we should all be confident, because he has really not produced anything that I would imagine, is bad necessarily in the last 10 years. Like you could have an opinion on like whether it's good or not, or like whether it's great or not. But like as far as all of his Guardians movies, even that horror movie, that Superman horror movie, what was it called that he produced? What am I forgetting the name of that movie? That the Brightburn. Even Brightburn wasn't terrible per se. And yeah, I mean his work on the Suicide Squad was pretty good too. So all things considered, James Gunn, it's good to know that he's continuing to try to improve his caliber of work, even at the age of his career. But John, there's also this news of, are we getting a Batman Forever Schumacher cut? Like,
I would fucking hope so. I've been waiting for this goddamn thing for years. Kevin Smith dropped that truth bomb fucking years ago, and I still want my goddamn Schumacher. If fucking Zack Snyder can get his mediocre fucking Justice League out, we can get this goddamn masterpiece in the making sometime in the next year, goddammit. Look, I don't like Akiva Goldsman that much. I don't think he's a very good writer outside of Batman Forever and A Beautiful Mind. So, like, you know what? He can kind of go to hell for all I care. But I will say, I respect the fact that he's like, I wanted this to come out after, Joel Schumacher passed away, to get his like original ideas out there. And he said in the video, because he did, there was a video, he was talking about this. And he was saying like, I wanted to tribute him. I wanted to, and Joel Schumacher did, before he passed away, he did like see like a preview like of what his director's cut could be. And he's like, okay, that's kind of what I want to do. And then he never got it off the ground. And he was, apparently it was starting to get off the ground. They're like, we have VFX work and we have to rescore it. It would cost $1 million, $1 million, which is, by the way, $69 million less than what the fucking Snyder cut took to finish. So I would say, just give me my goddamn Schumacher cut of Batman Forever. I don't care if it's like, oh, it barely changes the movie. It's still fucking, Joel Schumacher. It's still got Jim Carrey bouncing around like an idiot. It still has to. I don't give a flying fuck. I want to see this goddamn movie. It can barely be better. It can fucking be worse for all I care. I want to see this goddamn movie. I want to see the goddamn Batgirl movie that's stuck in a vault somewhere. I want to see Coyote versus Acme, goddammit. I want to see the Schumacher cut of Batman Forever, and I don't care how many people fucking make fun of me. I don't give a shit. I want to see this movie because I will forever die on the fucking hill that Batman Forever is the best Batman movie of the OG4. I will die on that hill. I don't care what people say. You know why? Because it lives up to the fucking title. It was the first Batman movie at the time that was actually about Batman. So you know what? I want to see this movie, even if it's not that much better, even if it's just a little bit better. It goes from like a 7 to like a 7.5. I don't care. I want to see this movie. Just honor Joel Schumacher in a way. This man did not deserve the hate he got after Batman and Robin. The man went on to make some great movies. Phone Booth? Fucking Phone Booth is fire. I would say if you've not seen Phone Booth with Colin Farrell, our now Penguin, so I would say go watch it because it's fucking great. I've heard 8mm is like insane, so go watch that. Go watch Lost Boys. Go watch Falling Down. My buddy just watched Falling Down for the first time, and he's like, you know what? That was fucking excellent. And it is excellent. A Time to Kill. Fucking great. Go watch these goddamn movies because Joel Schumacher is underrated, and Batman Forever is Kino. So you know what? I want to see this goddamn movie. Give it to me, WB. Make a good decision for fucking once and give us this goddamn Schumacher cut. Gimme. I want to see more butt shots. Give me more of those bat nipples. Fuck it. I want to see those nips. Give me more bat nips. Give me more butt shots. I don't care. Give it.
Cool.
I agree with Caleb.
Cool. Hey, Val Kilmer, I think deserves to have his work be seen in the way that Joel Schumacher intended. But there is this another news here, which was not so much news, but Isabel Merced, who's going to be playing Hawkgirl in the new DCU in the new upcoming Superman movie. Indeed, she mentioned that it was pretty much a full circle moment for her being cast in that film because. Whenever she was coming back, flying in and then leaving town for an audition or a callback, she would always come back and see that Superman mural and statue. What do you think about, again, the passion that she has for the character? And then, she's going to be a part of this universe for some time to come, it seems like. So it's good to know that she isn't just a casual fan necessarily. She's really engaged with the character of Superman and the mythos of the Superman, character. And the stories that they're trying to tell here with the new DCU.
I think that's really cool. I'm excited for her Hawk Girl. I know she needs some redemption after Madam Web. So you know what? Like, give us more of that, because if she's like actually like passionate about these characters, then I would say she more than deserves that redemption. Like, people made jokes that like Sydney Sweeney was the only person that actually gave a shit about that movie on set because she like actually read up about the character, and she's like, can we like actually, do some of the famous poses? Can we do this with the character? Can we do this in the character? And then everyone's like, why do you care so much about this movie? Because it's like, oh, I don't know, caring about my craft. Like, I want this to be fucking good, you idiots. Avi Arad, Amy Pascal, you fucking nonsense. So like, you know what? Give us that sort of thing. So I know that's Sydney Sweeney, but I believe Isabella Merced and like even Dakota Johnson, like they probably wanted to make a good movie and then they just didn't because Sony doesn't care about making good movies unless it's animated. So I would say, I don't know. I think this is cool. I'm excited for her Hawkgirl. The only thing that's like a little concerning, she's like 5'3". So I'm like, I don't know how you're going to be like intimidating with that size, but like, you know what? I think they'll make it work.
But you can
short girls have the most. You know what? I will say short girls, they got a lot of anger, a lot of fury. I would know that. My sister is 5'2", so I understand. They got that anger inside of them, so it makes sense. But like, I'm just curious how, from like a visual standpoint. But even then, I'm still excited. I'm excited for her Hawkgirl. I'm excited for Guy Gardner, played by Nathan Fillion. I'm excited for Mr. Terrific, played by Eddie Gathegi. I'm excited for all these supporting characters because even though they aren't like unknown, they still kind of are like at the CB, I would say BCD level, depending on the character. So, and the fact that like she like actually go on and said like, yeah, I this like mural that's in, I guess, wherever it is. I don't know where she's from, but I would like to see that. Is like it was like kind of like almost like a Destiny sort of thing, like a little bit, like kind of like how David Cornsweet was fan cast as Superman for years, and then the man fucking actually got the role. That's just really cool, and it's just nice. It's nice
really
to
cool.
see these actors being like unlike, you know, like Marlon Brando or Jennifer Lawrence, where they were like, oh, give me my paycheck, please. Thank you. They're like, no, I read the comics. I went past this mural. I grew up with the animated series. I care about this character and I want to see it done well. So I hope that like that really carries over. Yeah. And no, I love Keanu. Keanu's great.
Dude, by the way,
the man isn't exactly the best actor ever.
But hey, look, before you give your opinion, I just want to thank Chris again. Thank you for
the
that really means a lot. Yes. You know, the super chats are on. We don't, you know, it's not something that we're like pushing, but hey, if you guys have something you really want to discuss on the show, drop in the super chat. We will definitely talk about it. And thank you, Chris, for dropping that comment. But yeah, I mean, John, Keanu Reeves, do you think he's a little bit too old to do that now? I mean, maybe 20 years ago, even he's like, you're talking somebody in his 40s, like a Batman in his 40s. I don't know, like I wonder if that's maybe a little past that time. No, like it's a little maybe.
I mean, I would say he could play Thomas Wayne. He could play Thomas Wayne. Like that's all I'm kind of thinking of there. But yeah, I think he's just a little bit too old. He's in his 50s. I think he's I don't know how, like I think he might be in mid 50s. So I think yeah, again, as you're saying, like 20 years ago, maybe if they were doing the Nolan movies, I could like maybe see him then. But even then, Keanu Reeves, I understand he's like America's golden boy, which is like awesome, great. I love Keanu, like one of the few, you know, actors in this business that seems like an actual human being and not like a faux human being like Ryan Reynolds. So yeah, I think that just would not be a good choice. Like, I understand like Batman doesn't require like Daniel Day-Lewis levels of acting, but like I'd want someone who can do a little bit more than just whoa, and that's like their emotional depth as an actor. So, you know, I can be real. Like, again, I could love Keanu and say like he's not exactly the greatest actor ever, but yeah, I would want someone like, can we get Jake Gyllenhaal, please? For the love of God, he's the perfect age. He looks the part. He could do it. He could do dual identities. Just give us Jake Gyllenhaal, man. That's all I want. I want Jake Gyllenhaal, goddammit, or a nobody, one of the two. But no Alan Ritchson, no Jensen Ackles, no Glenn Powell, none of that shit. Like I just and no Keanu. Sorry, but thank you for the super chat though. That really helps.
Yeah, absolutely. And so you're getting some, you know, opinions in the chat. I think, like you said, maybe a less of a brooding Batman, somebody who can pull off some, you know. Although I don't know, I can't see Keanu playing a Batman that's a lighter tone Batman. So if you're looking for a lighter tone Batman, then maybe Keanu isn't the best option. Certainly to differentiate from the Robert Pattinson version that we're getting, right? Like you don't want two Batman to seem very similar. And by the way, thank you, Lenny Sullen. You dropped a $2 super chat. Absolutely love that, you know, you're willing to support us at that level. Really, really appreciate it. And I think actually that's £2. Wow, Lenny. Okay, thank you so much. £2. We're from across the pond. And Lenny, of course, also mentioned that hey, he needs to be. I mean, are you talking about maybe Glenn Powell being the DC Batman? But you know, Oliver Queen is the way to go.
Oliver Queen. We were saying this yesterday. I want Glenn Powell and Sydney Sweeney as Green Arrow and Black Canary. I forget who talked about who made that comment, but yeah, I want to see that. Please.
Was it Caleb? I don't know. Some one of you guys mentioned it. I think it was a brilliant idea. I think that could be an option. But there is one more quote that I wanted to. Speaking of Batman, let's dive into this. John, we recently have had a lot of promotional material for the Penguin because the show is on its way and it's coming next month. Is it September 19th? It's coming out. So Lauren LaFranc, who is one of the writers on The Penguin,
Mhm.
she recently was asked about, how what this opportunity has meant to her writing on The Penguin, and in her own words, she says in traditional crime dramas, rarely are the women as interesting as the men, which is very true. If you watch a lot of the movies over the years, whether it's Goodfellas or The Godfather, the women play a role, but rarely are they, up front and center. So
I would
yeah, and she's
disagree with that, but that's my personal opinion. I'll get into that after you say that.
Yeah, well, I think what I'm trying to say is, again, like, the stories aren't focused on those characters as much as maybe, like, there are basically those in starring roles the way that, the men are shown to be. But then again, that's again Lauren saying that, hey, she took this as an opportunity to see what had been done before her, and of course, then to respect and honor the genre, but then also to evolve it. And she's of course referencing how Kristen Miliotti's character, Sophia Falcone, is going to be one of the featured leads in this Penguin series. What are your thoughts on the idea of, again, seeing Sophia Falcone be one of the leads in the show, and again what it means to Lauren as being as having the opportunity to give a female character much more of a featured role.
The thing that I love that she's saying is, and I hope she means it, and I hope it showcases that in the show, to respect and honor the genre, because I feel like a lot of people, like non-veterans, like newcomers and rookies, I feel like there's a lack of respect for like what has come before, and it's like, okay, we only need to progress, when it's like, well, the thing is, if you're just progressing, then you're not like remembering the mistakes of the past, and you're not doing anything to like evolve that, but also respect the greatness of what came before. So you have to respect the greatness, do the great things that made those stories great, but also evolve it in your own personal way. And that's the best thing to do. Personally, I think maybe in crime, I mean, I don't know if like a film noir would count as a crime drama, but like I feel like a lot of like the femme fatale, that's like, those were like in the 30s and 40s and 50s, those characters, those women were like some of the most interesting characters of those movies, and the women who like owned their sexuality and used it to manipulate others around them. So I wouldn't say it's like it was like no women whatsoever. I understand like the more popular stuff like Godfather and Goodfellas, a lot of lack of women in those movies, so that's understandable. She's talking about that makes sense. But I feel like you got to remember the film noirs, because those were like the prime level of strong female characters that a lot of people, I feel like, seem to forget about, when those characters and those women should not be forgotten. So yeah, I think the thing that makes me intrigued even more with this is like, I'm actually going to respect what came before, and considering that's a rarity nowadays, because God forbid if you respect what came before. But if she is doing that, then she will get her reckoning. Sorry, I had to do that for Fiona. She gave us a little super chat, so I had to do the Bane voice. I apologize, but
will Sophia Falcone be Gotham's reckoning? John, you can do that better than I can, but yeah. There we go. Thanks, Fiona, for the super chat. As always. Thanks, Lenny. Thanks, Chris. Thanks, Fiona, for dropping in your super chats. You appreciate that. Yes, and Fiona says thank you in the chat, John. So, and Lenny, thanks so much for your super chat earlier. You dropped in a couple of pounds. And of course,
from across the pond. Love to see it.
Across the pond.
Thank you very much.
The pond. Yes, absolutely. We do appreciate that. Now, of course, there's lots more to come in the world of DC. We do have a new Kite Man episode dropping. Was it 2 days from now? So we're gonna review that on the show. And Lenny, Fiona, Chris, Caleb, everybody, Kazoo Rat, everybody who's dropping in, Derpy, stay on with us, because we still have lots more to go here on the show. We do have to look ahead to the movie of the week next week. So let's dive into that now. So we're going to bring Angelina back into the show, and we're going to talk about that, because Alien Romulus is coming out. Alien Romulus is coming out in just a couple of days' time, and that is a movie that looks scary as all hell. So it does.
I don't know about that.
I'm just saying.
I'm muted. I was watching the trailer while you guys were going through DCU Daily, and then I was like, oh, weird. And then I went to the final trailer, and I was like, oh god. The former Alien versus Predator movies used to literally give me nightmares for years, and this feels like wild, right? Alien versus Predator. Just like there's not a whole lot of things that scare me.
I mean, Alien versus Predator Requiem gave a lot of people nightmares, but for all the wrong reasons, because it was so bad.
Wild. You know, but the original ones, like the original Alien versus Predator, like that shit was so and this is giving that. Now, whether or not they can pull through, I don't know. But the trailer got me. I was like,
I don't know. I just
in the trailer, it literally shows an alien like breaking out of a living woman. I was like, oh god. Yeah, good times. Are you guys looking forward to it? Apparently, John is not.
I have no faith in it. It's just like I hate Fede Alvarez. I don't like what he did with a previous IP of mine. As everyone knows, as you can see behind me, I have my Evil Dead poster. I love Evil Dead. I love Evil Dead 2. I love Army of Darkness. I love the show. I love Evil Dead Rise. The one Evil Dead thing I don't like is the god-awful fucking remake by Fede Alvarez, because it's an identity crisis. He doesn't understand what made the previous film so great, and it just feels like a generic ripoff of Evil Dead than actually Evil Dead. So I don't trust him with another IP. I don't even trust him with original stuff, because Don't Breathe fucking sucked too. So like, and I heard Girl in the Spider's Web was also terrible. So I watched I will say when I went to go see Longlegs, and they were showing like a bunch of like horror trailers, and both me and my friend Mark were watching the trailer for Alien Romulus. I don't know which trailer it was, but we were watching and we're like, oh, that's from Alien. We were like literally going through the trailer, like kind of being like, oh, that's from Alien. Oh, that's from Aliens. Oh, they literally ripped that shot off from Alien 3. Oh, that's also from Aliens. Oh, that's from Alien. And then it's just like, oh, and you also ripped off the tagline from the original Alien. You're not even that original. So I'm just like going like, oh, it's just like Alien's greatest hits. Like that's what it looks like to me. It's kind of like a Halloween H2O a little bit. It's just Alien's greatest hits, but without any of the intrigue or creativity that made those movies so good in the first place. So it's just kind of, looks kind of bland to me.
Caleb, that freaked me out. There's just the whole thing was just so fucked up. I was like, oh god.
Yeah. It's they had a presence at Comic-Con, and yeah, I mean, it's a new Alien movie. By the way, this movie was originally, when it was put into development, it was meant to be straight to streaming. So like they've clearly got faith in this thing that they're putting out in a movie theater. So I do wonder like if that means that they think this movie is better than what it was originally meant to be, but it's potentially still got that original premise behind it, which was designed for a streaming service. So I can say that we're going to get a movie that's kind of like the Blue Beetle, where it's like it was a movie that was like designed for streaming, where we have seen all the genre conventions before, but it's trying to I mean, you could on the other hand end up with something like Predator, where not Predator, but Prey, which was in the Predator franchise.
Isabella Merced again.
And we were all wishing. So, I mean, on one end, you can get a Prey, which was, I think a lot of people looked at it and said, why did they not put this in a movie theater? Or we could get something where it's like, this clearly belongs on a streaming service. Do you guys have, any concerns about whether this movie is going to make enough money to be at the top of the box?
Oh, yeah, it'll be a
Deadpool Wolverine will come back up at the top.
I think enough people will go to see it. I think it'll be comparable to A Quiet Place for sure. I think it'll be comparable in numbers. I think Alien has enough, the IP overall just has enough of like a faithful following. Like I remember watching these movies with my dad when I was young. That's also probably why it gave me nightmares. But yeah, I mean, I remember watching them with my stepmom, my dad. My mom was into them. I mean, we're talking like, when did the original Alien movie come out? Like
79
years ago?
It's
my
been, yeah, this is 4 decades on, yeah, almost 50 years now.
Yeah, it got re-released for the 45th anniversary back in April. I saw it in the theater. Oh God, still great, still magnificent. God.
So I mean, we're
fucking
talking
Alien,
an IP
so
that
excellent.
spans the majority of our parents' lifetimes, right? And so I just think at this point, when you pull on an IP like that, like even Twisters was a great movie, but they were able to use the press and leverage everything. And if they're able to do the same with this movie, then, you know, I think, but that's the thing. I haven't heard a lot of press for this movie at all.
Yeah, neither have I. I think they're just trying to like maybe word of mouth. It sells itself because it's Alien. Because I mean, literally for the 45th anniversary, like literally there was like a 10-minute thing before the movie where it was Ridley Scott talking with Fede Alvarez on like Alien and then the upcoming Alien Romulus. So I think it's there. It just I think like Alien is just kind of so big at this point, it almost kind of sells itself a little bit. Like maybe that's me being confident because I do love this franchise, even though I'm not really excited for this. Like I love the first 3 movies. Yes, even Alien 3. I love Alien 3. Don't at me. Alien Resurrection sucked, and then I never seen the Alien versus Predator movies or the prequel movies. Oh no, I saw Prometheus. That was forgettable, but never saw Covenant.
Confusing as it was.
It was like because people expected it to be like a proper prequel, and it like kind of was, but then it was like people expected like the origin of the alien, and it really wasn't. It was it was weird. It had some good moments, but it was like overall like just kind of weird. I never saw Alien Covenant. I wanted to. I heard it was like mid, and then I know Neil Blomkamp tried to do another Alien movie that took place after Aliens. That never got off the ground because Ridley Scott was like, no, I want to do my own movies. So that was nixed. So yeah, it's a very turbulent franchise, but I'm just going to be like, I stick with the first 3 movies. That's just my bread and butter.
Well, the question is, will this Alien Romulus movie bring the franchise back to its former glory days? It's possible. We could have a hit on our hands or we could have a flop on our hands. But before we finish the show, I did want to make a quick shout out. Today, my background is, of course, this brilliant new studio that Fiona's put together. Fiona, of course, was the one who earlier wanted John to do his Bane voice. So thank you, Fiona, for dropping the super chat. And thank you for lending me your amazing new studio. You can check out her art on, I think it's FionaC.nyc. That's her website. And John, of course, we can find you over at the Geek Informant. You're talking about DC all the time, so we'll be back with more DCU Daily
and Marvel. I still talk about a little bit of Marvel stuff.
Yeah, you do. You know? That's true. That is true. You do. And Angelina, of course, you're on social media. Of course, Authentically Angelina. You can find her on Instagram, as well as other social medias. And you can check us out on Also Curious. Come back tomorrow for another episode of DCU Daily. The day after that, we're reviewing on Thursday the next episode of Kite Man, and we'll be back on Friday with even more DCU Daily. So as always, guys, thanks for checking us out. Thanks for watching the show, and thanks for leaving those live chats. Thanks for leaving those super chats. We really do appreciate that. It helps support us on the channel to do more content like this. Hit the like button if you haven't already. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, so you know when we have a new episode going up, and hit the notification bell because we don't want you guys to miss out when we go live. And so we will be back tomorrow again, John and I, and I'm sure Bridget will stop by. Angelina, as always, it's been good to have you back on the show. We'll be back next week talking about Alien Romulus and just how much it did or did not make us shit our pants. But we will see how good it is or how bad it is. It comes out in a couple of days, and until then...
Depending on what the shitting is about, it's either so scary or so bad. One of the two.
One of the two. So go out there and watch Alien Romulus, come back and talk to us about it, and then I'm sure we'll be discussing more fan castings for Batman like Keanu Reeves or Glenn Powell, or maybe we'll get confirmation on Booster Gold. I still would like to see Kumail Nanjiani do that. But until next time, guys, go out there, watch something movie-related, come back and talk to us about it. We'll see you back here on another episode of Oh So Curious next week, and tomorrow we'll see you on DCU Daily. Until then, Bane voice? You want to lead us out on Bane voice, John? No?
Gotham's Reckoning!
Cool.